We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Boys are back. Tailgate season on our way to Jacksonville for the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Chris Collinsworth texted me and said, can you make sure Mike Renner doesn't get too wasted? Because he feels that this is your element where we might not get you back from Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, cocktails, I'm not usually a cocktail guy, so when I do partake, it usually hits me a little bit harder. I'm more of a Miller Lite, that kind of guy. But I've been the one having to keep you and Solfaro in check over the course of these trips, so I take offense to that.
Solfaro has been fine. Solfaro has been, if anything, phenomenal on these trips. Solfaro, the public relations guy here at PFF, he's been making the trips with us. I think it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
I'm the one who's used to, I don't want to but I've been tailgating since, Notre Dame. You guys obviously didn't have that at San Diego State. So I've been used to the all-day affairs. This is new to you guys. You're trying to buy shots at 11 a.m. and I'm like, you're gonna die by 3 p.m.
Yeah.
So I've been.
No, I definitely think something that I'm not good at is taking it slow. I have one speed and it's go. And I think when I start and I burn fast like a firecracker. And at San Diego State, the tailgate scene was non-existent. No one even went to the game. So this has been a new experience for me. I'm excited for Jacksonville, world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I'm going to be sporting the Georgia gear. You got Georgia gear too. No one's repping Florida.
Yeah, no Florida. We want
winners.
We want Georgia not to get upset. We want the good teams to make the college football playoff. We want that to be electric. We don't. I mean, Florida at this point. Sorry about you. You kind of cheek. So
yeah. What time are you thinking we want to start on Saturday? It's a 3:30 kick. When you want to wake up.
3:30 kick. You usually have to start by at least 10 a.m.
Gotcha.
I feel like anytime you really wake up super early, you risk ruining your tailgate altogether. Like you risk having a bad day because you didn't get enough sleep and you're like, oh, I feel like shit the whole day. Mm-hmm. You'd rather rest up and feel good when you start and then have a day because it's a long day no matter what. Instead of, I will have to wake up really early because you get really excited and then you're burnt out by game time and it's no fun.
Yeah, I can commit to a 10 a.m. start hoping that we survive till 10 p.m. I think I want a 10 to 10, a full 10 to 10.
12 hours.
12 hours. We'll make it happen. Make sure you use promo code TAILGATE at pff.com for 25% off any PFF subscription. Love to see that. Support the pod. You can also go to shop.pff.com or pff.shop.com. I can't remember which one it is. The first one. Shop.pff.com to grab any tailgate apparel for every item purchased. $3 to St. Jude's Hospital. I have to shout out how you can support the pod. Before we get into our Catch an Early Buzz segment, Mel Kiper Jr. and Todd McShay, the ESPN guys, have both dropped big boards, position rankings in the last 48 hours. I want to get some of your reactions to these big board, these rankings, some of the notables here. I think where I'd like to start.
Well, my first reaction, could I give my first reaction?
Sure.
Kiper came out with some 3 weeks ago, didn't he?
Yeah, he updated his
just talked about him. He's been in the lab cooking the tape, apparently. So kudos to him. But then my other reaction was Kiper comes out with the 25. McShay says, fuck yeah, I got 32. He puts 32 on him. 7 more. He's like, I can rank a little deeper than you, Mel. One up.
But I will say Mel did do top 10 position rankings by position as well.
Yeah.
So Mel kind of went a little extra mile.
When you go top 10 by position, how come you only release in 25 then? If you have 10 guys and 10 specialists, mind you, when you've gone that deep already to feel confident to put out those rankings, why are you limiting yourself to 25?
He's got fullback rankings in here.
Yeah. Why are you limiting yourself to 25? Put your
Monty Potabom of Iowa is his 8th ranked fullback. Okay, if he's already watched Monty Potabom's tape,
that's actually my matchup I was going to highlight this week is Monty Potabom. Yeah,
some of these
playing
names.
Football.
I think that might be the best name in the country. Monty Potabom. All right, let's get into. I want to start with Mel and kind of compare them both, but kind of chalky to start. All of them, both of them have a combination of Kayvon Thibodeau, Kyle Hamilton, Derek Stingley, and Evan Neal, Aiden Hutchinson in their top 6 to 8. That is not surprising. Where I feel like there is the first opportunity for conversation is this wide receiver class. So you said Mel Kiper Jr. had Jahan Dotson, the Penn State wideout, as his wide receiver 1 2 or 3 weeks ago. Some changes made. Right here, Drake London is his wide receiver 1, the big USC wideout. And then at wide receiver 2, Jahan Dotson not even there. Jamison Williams, the former Ohio State wide receiver, former 4-star that transferred to Alabama. He has him as wide receiver 2, player 11 or number 11 on his overall big board. And then we finally get to Dotson at 16. The wide receivers for McShay, on the other hand, he has our guys. He's got the 2 Ohio State guys, first and second. He has Garrett Wilson as his number 1 receiver, Chris Olave as his number 2 receiver. And you don't see Dotson show up until wide receiver 3 and London show up, I believe, at wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on those differences?
I was going through McShay's board, and I couldn't believe how similar he sees about once you get to until player 19, which is Jalen Whittemore, the tight end from Texas A&M. It is looks very similar. Like, it looks very similar to the PFF draft board. But Drake London at number 4 overall for Kiper is a play. That's putting him in Jamar Chase territory. That's putting him in, Amari Cooper territory. That's putting him in like top wide receiver prospect, like can't miss sort of territory, which I'd push back on a little bit because you got guys like he's ahead of on his board, Evan Neal, Aiden Hutchinson, guys who I don't want to say there's no sure things in the draft, but guys who look like they will be blue chip NFL starters sooner rather than later. So that one was the weird one to me. Obviously, McShay's going Wilson, Olave, 1-2, the same way we see it. And then Dotson over Drake London for him, I believe, is by 12 spots. That one's interesting. He obviously type-wise skews towards the way we would skew type-wise in terms of separators, guys that can get open. That's Jahan Dotson comparatively to, like we've said for a while now, Drake London.
I think if I had to predict right now, when we get into like peak draft season, January, February, March, the stickier names of this wide receiver group will be Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. I think more people will come to them being, if they're not their number 1 and number 2 receivers, top 3, top 4 receivers. Who I don't imagine sticks around is Dotson. Dotson already falling to wide receiver 3 for Mel Kiper. I think you could continue to see that when you start to study Drake London and you start to study Treylon Burks and some of these other receivers. I just don't imagine Dotson being a consensus top 3 receiver when it's all said and done.
Yeah, so just like comparing to last year's wide receiver class, none of these guys are in the same tier as the top 3, in my opinion, which were Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. I thought those guys were that was like the clear talked about tier 1. Garrett Wilson, I would put in a similar breath as receivers like Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore. That's where I would see a guy like Garrett Wilson in this class. And I think you can put Olave and London in that tier as well. Whereas, like, if you're comparing Elijah Moore from last year at Ole Miss, his tape at Ole Miss, similar type of wide receiver to Jahan Dotson. Dotson probably a little bit better catch radius, but not quite the high-end athlete that I thought Elijah Moore was coming out. I'd probably prefer Elijah Moore. So that's like that tier then is day 2 after the Elijah Moore tier on the PFF draft board. Those are day 2 guys because I think Elijah Moore was the last one we really saw as a day 1 last season.
2 names on this list I wanted to get to as well that I feel like are good and guys we've talked about a ton, but I'm pushing back on are they that good? Charles Cross is both for Mel Kiper and Todd McShay the number 7 overall player in the draft class, OT 2 behind Evan Neal. And then also the other player, so I want to hear, I know you like Charles Cross and you liked him as this project player that has taken this step. Is he that good? Is he top 7, top 10 player good? And then Devin Lloyd, who is number 8 on Mel Kiper's board and number 16 on Todd McShay's. I like Devin Lloyd as much as the next guy, but are we talking about this like Devin Bush, Devin White tier of linebacker? I don't see it. I don't see that kind of hype for Lloyd.
Yeah, I agree that the linebackers right now strike me as late first round type of guys, whether it's Nakobe Dean, Christian Harris, or Devin Lloyd. Like those 3, I just, as it stands right now, I probably wouldn't want to take any of those guys before pick, 23, 24 if I'm drafting somewhere in the first round. Yeah, that's how I see that linebacker class right now.
Yeah, I mean, even
Charles Cross is the other guy that you mentioned. So you mentioned both. Cross, though, I will say this about him, that you don't get to say about a lot of offensive tackles. he has 451 pass blocking sets in the SEC this season against top competition. You're getting a good, and yeah, he may be kind of a one-year wonder. 44 pressures last year. Like, this may be like one out of the blue kind of year, like one massive leap that he took. But you are doing it against the best competition in college football. Like, SEC, we haven't seen this from SEC tackles because there's never been like that pass heavy an offense in the SEC. Now, a lot of defenses still do face that Mississippi State offense with 3-man rushes, with 3-man fronts, where, you know, you go back and watch Texas A&M tape. A lot of the times he's head up against DeMarvin Leal, and DeMarvin Leal is not rushing off his outside shoulder, which is a vastly different animal than having a wide 9 who's firing off the ball every time against your left tackle. But even still, I do think that that's probably where Charles Cross is going to end up on the PFF draft board, is somewhere in the, I don't want to say OT1 range, but OT2 to 3 for us.
The next name on this list, I'm going to go and say it. I'm going to say it, Mike. Hand up. I don't think a lot of people have seen Kingsley Enagbare. Kingsley Enagbare was not ranked on Mel Kiper's board 2 weeks ago. He's now the number 14 overall player. He's not ranked on Todd McShay's board. I just don't think people have watched him. I just think people are catching up to Enagbare's tape. And I think after Mel Kiper watched him, he did not have, he did not have Kingsley Enagbare, and now he has him coming out.
Also, I did not realize, so on the board it says his nickname's JJ, which your first name is Kingsley. You already have a dope-ass name.
Yeah.
Do not go by a nickname at that point. Like, you go by JJ if your first
name's... He could have good reasoning.
Justin, if your first name's James. Then you go by JJ. By all means, like JJ Watt. What is his name? It's like a basic whatever. If you're Kingsley, go by Kingsley.
Mm-hmm.
That's just some advice for all the draft prospects out there thinking about changing to a nickname. If you got a dope-ass name, keep it.
I can't stand reading some of the blurb work on some of this stuff. He finished the Enagbare blurb. NFL teams always...
I think I said both of... J.J. Watt's name is literally Justin James. I think I said both of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But he finishes this blurb of Kingsley Enagbare with NFL teams always crave edge rushers, so Enagbare could keep rising.
That's the editor in you.
Is that like... I don't know. I don't know if that sentence is all that necessary. NFL teams always crave edge rushers. Do they? I guess, obviously. Anyway, so Kingsley Enagbare, I do think ultimately ends up moving up boards as more people start to watch him, including Todd McShay. They're also very opposite on Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams is number 28 on Todd McShay's board, whereas he's number 11 on Mel Kiper's board. He was unranked for both these guys a couple weeks ago, like was not even on people's radar. Do you think this rise is actually worth it? Jameson Williams, the guy we've talked to a bit now, the Alabama receiver, transfer from Ohio State.
I think the rise is worth it. We talked about that. One of the biggest risers, wide receiver 5 on the PFF draft board, the most recent one. But I push back against the sort of positioning. Now, maybe they're saying it's a weak class overall, but it's just the positioning of these wide receivers make it seem like this is like last year's class or 2 years ago's class. Like, it's putting it in that air when I don't quite see it like that. Like, no one's coming in and having the season that Jamar Chase just did or is in the midst of. Like, I just don't see it like that. But the way the rankings are for these guys, where it's like 3 or 4 in the top 15, you would think it's that sort of class. I just push back on that a little bit for both these.
Some other notables here, and then we'll jump to, obviously, our NFL Week 8 preview here. But some of the position rankings, he currently sees Ekwonu as a guard. I don't think Ekwonu did crack Mel's top 25, but he is in there as his number 1 ranked guard ahead of Kenyon Green, whereas I know others see him at tackle. And then some of the stuff that I found interesting is he had Cameron Thomas, the San Diego State defensive end, ahead of George Karlaftis. That feels wild to me. This is being Mel Kiper Jr. He has it ranked.
Cam Thomas guy.
Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson, Cameron Thomas, George Karlaftis. Now, how much of that is – I guess they're tied for third. I didn't know he could do ties. He has a tie here. Cameron Thomas and George Karlaftis are tied for third on his defensive end rankings. Your reaction to our San Diego State legend, Cameron Thomas, cracking the top 3 there?
I haven't even watched him.
So. Really? Is it because you don't care?
About San Diego State, yeah. No, but I just haven't, and – that's wild. I'll have to go back and watch him. But he also then does the thing where it's like those are DNs. Logan Hall's on that list, who's a DT. And then you have Kingsley Enagbare with outside linebackers who literally he plays DN for South Carolina. And then he has Brandon Smith under outside linebackers who plays actual outside linebacker. And Isaiah Foskey, who plays actual defensive end for Notre Dame. It's such a
the position rankings are always a joke. But regardless, I'm just happy Cam Thomas is getting some love. George Karlaftis or Thomas doesn't even crack Kiper's top 25, but he is edge 18. Karlaftis.
He's got Drake Jackson at outside linebacker 10.
Wild stuff. Let's move off of this now. I think some of the more notable takeaways from that, in my opinion, are people need to watch more JJ Nagbury. Don't
you dare call him JJ.
I don't think this wide receiver class should be as uncertain as it is right now. I don't think it should be this hodgepodge of opinion. In my opinion, I don't think we should be seeing Drake London wide receiver 1, then Jahan Dotson wide receiver 1, and some people have Garrett Wilson. Then a lot. I think it's kind of clear who these top guys are.
I'm not sure I'd say it's clear because it's like there are 3 to 4 different varied types, and then again that's going to be in the eye of the beholder. Wide receiver is one of the few positions in football where a guy can be 6'5", 230, play it, and a guy can be 5'9", 175, play it
Ranges.
At a high level. Like that, you got 60 pounds and 7 inches of difference between guys that can play at elite level. So you're just going to evaluate the position vastly differently. But I do think the sort of that would, to me, then, like when that is the case, that would indicate that it should be not clear. Like there shouldn't be blue chip type of guys. Then you shouldn't be seeing some of these guys as like elite
number 4 overall player.
If there's going to be that difference of opinion on them. But
no, I think that's a great take. I think having the fact that someone can see Drake London as wide receiver 3 and another can see him as a top 5 player in this class just feels wild to me. I don't know if necessarily that should be the case. I also think we're seeing a clear defining of the blue chippers in this class. Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson, Evan Neal, Derek Stingley, Kyle Hamilton. Those guys, I think, for everyone, will be consistently in this top 6 to 8 range for people.
McShay and I had the same top 5 guys. Wow. I told him as much on Twitter today.
Did you? Did you tag him? You're a weirdo. All right, Thursday Night Football, Packers-Cardinals. Packers have COVID across the board. Joe Barry's out. Devontae Adams is out. Others got COVID. Cardinals went from favored by 3 to favored by 6.5, and I don't even think that's enough. I'm of the opinion that Kyler Murray also, throw COVID out the window. Kyler Murray is playing better football this year than Aaron Rodgers. He's grading better than Aaron Rodgers is this year. I'm on that side. Packers offense wounded. I like the backdoor potentially. Aaron Rodgers sneaking in just to say hello. But Cardinals, for me, I think dominate this game, own this game. Unless it gets to 7, I'm taking Kyler Murray 6.5.
You can't say I like the backdoor potentially and then say I'm taking the Cardinals 6.5.
No, I think I like it potentially, but I like the 6.5 more.
Okay. Well,
what? Yeah, I like the Packers could win potentially, Mike.
You can't hedge.
I'm not. I didn't. I took my pick. I'm saying
take.
No, it's not.
It's
a Cardinals 6.5.
I'll just say this: Devontae Adams is accounted for 41.8% of the Packers' receiving yards this season. Second highest behind only Deebo Samuel. Him plus Allen Lazard, who Allen Lazard is for sure out. Devontae Adams could still have an outside chance of playing.
I saw unlikely.
Yeah, unlikely, but outside chance. Him plus Allen Lazard have accounted for over 50%. So 50% on top of the fact that it's a short week that you have to account for that. Basically, transform your offense because you're not throwing the ball to Juwan effing Winfrey as much as you did.
Wow.
Devontae Adams.
Catching a ricochet Winfrey? He listens to this pod.
But I will say, okay, no J.J. Watt, backup center for the Cardinals. That could play in the favor of the Packers. But I'm taking Cardinals 6.5.
I think, like I said, I like Cardinals 6.5. Unless this gets to 7, 7.5, I'm staying with Arizona. If you can get to 7.5, I think riding with Aaron Rodgers as a full touchdown dog is something I'm keen on betting on for sure. Especially because this line movement, I think you saw some of the betting community talk about this. This is the most a line has moved for obviously there's multiple players hurt.
Singular non-quarterback.
Yeah, Devontae Adams moved this line 3.5 points. Yeah. And I think some of this also Joe Barry's not going to be able to coach in this one. You have Allen Lazard. There is some of that other baking in, but Devontae Adams is moving this line by a significant degree, and it's because he has 42% of their passing yards. He is a big factor for their offense. Before we get to the 1 o'clock slate, proud sponsor of the Tailgate podcast is Western and Southern. Whether it's football success or financial savvy, the right questions help set the stage for winning strategies. Western and Southern is teaming up with PFF's very own Chris Collinsworth to share insights that can help you put ahead Put you ahead on both your fantasy and financial scoreboards. Want to hear more about Chris's old playing days or behind the scenes with Al on Sunday Night Football? How about a need to know for your financial future? Now you can ask about either or both, and every football or financial question you ask earns you a chance to win a catered party for February's big game. Check out the Chris Collinsworth podcast and Western Southern's Instagram for answers to the best questions each week. Submit your questions at westernsouthern.com/askchris. One more time, that is westernsouthern.com/askchris. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the link in the description below. Remember, with Western Southern, you can rest assured on game day. Panthers at Falcons. Sam Darnold is the lowest graded quarterback in the NFL since week 3. They still have a top 10 defense in EPA per play allowed, and they still have a top 10 defense in pressure rate. However, Atlanta, sneakily, a top 10 offense in EPA per play, and Matt Ryan ranks first in PFF passing grade over the last 3 weeks. Kyle Pitts balling out of late. I like Falcons -3 a ton.
I do not.
What?
I mean, I think the Panthers just roster-wise are a better roster. The obviously main difference is the quarterback position. The Falcons have only covered 3 once all year long.
But they're hitting their steam.
That was against the Jets. Yeah, I get
even
that.
an
Yeah,
expression?
Arthur
They're
Smith,
hitting their
obviously,
steam?
the offense is on a roll of late. I'll give you that. But then also, I think the Panthers throw a lot more at you than some of the defenses they face. So I'm going to take the Panthers in this one, betting on the ship getting righted to a mild degree offensively against a defense that, has sat in cover 2 more than anyone outside of the Texans because they just don't have the talent to really do much else. So I do think that it is. I'll go with the Panthers in this one.
So you're betting Darnold. You're going to back
Yeah,
Darnold.
I mean, I don't
You're going to
love
back
it.
Darnold on the road.
I don't love it, but
It's only a 3-point line. You're backing Darnold on the road. I was surprised this line was even 3. PFF oftentimes loves the Falcons, and you could see this line getting stretched out a little bit. I'm surprised that you're backing Darnold, man. You really want to suffer through that?
yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Dolphins at Bills. 13.5-point favorites are the Buffalo Bills at home. I put in my notes here, blessed be the backdoor, because I think this is the backdoor opportunity you want to chase. Tua Tagovailoa is the number 6 graded quarterback over the past 2 weeks. Yes, their defense is terrible. That's been the biggest reason they've been losing games. Their defense is 28 in EPA per play allowed. They have been horrendous this year. Can't create pressure, giving up too much on the back end. Brian Flores, everyone wants to put a target on Tua Tagovailoa's back or Jacoby Brissett's back. This defense has been terrible. Bottom 5 for the talent that they have makes no sense to me. I think the Bills team is objectively the better team, but are they a 13.5-point favorite? This number could get to 14. I don't know. I like the Bills a lot, and they are obviously the best team here. But at 13.5 with Tua playing as well as he has of late, I like them to sneak in the back door.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like 13.5 against a real quarterback is just not something I would like to bet. I like the Dolphins here for that reason, because the way Tua has been playing. I think he has been, since he's come back from that injury. And it's, again, they're 1-6. Optically, sounds bad. They're not 1-6 if Tua is starting all these games. They are a better team than that when he is out there, even if they have lost the past 2 weeks when he has started. But again, 13.5 is just a massive number for a team, any team in the NFL, to cover, again, against a quality quarterback. So that's how I feel.
It is the Bills at home. And doing some of the notes for this game, I feel like the Bills have slid under the radar a little bit as everyone looks at Kyler Murray, Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert exceeding expectations, the Bengals exceeding expectations. After that week 1 dud for Buffalo, number 1 defense in efficiency and number 2 offense in efficiency. They have been damn good, beating the Chiefs. This is a very, very good football team. And they lose to the Titans on the slip, where everyone wants to talk about that 4th down decision when it was the execution that was the problem, where Josh Allen slips a little bit on that 4th down. This is a damn good football team. I don't think their 4-2 or 5-2 record really reflects that. I think they're really, really good. I just don't think they cover the full 13.5. 49ers, Bears. Bears at home are 3.5-point dogs. This is the lowest total on the slate. 39.5 points. Betting the under is going to be a sweat, but we'll see what you do. Both these offenses are horrendous. I'm not betting on this game. If I had to lean aside, honestly, I'd lean the dog at home at +3.5. But even then, it's you're banking on a lot of bad football and bad bounces just bouncing the Bears' way.
Yeah, I'm betting for. I'd go with 49ers here. No Khalil Mack playing in this one. That's obviously a massive injury. Bears have averaged 13.4 points per game since Justin Fields took over. and they've won a couple of those games because their defense balled out. But I just, without Khalil Mack, I don't see that being the case, and I just have not seen signs of improvement from Justin Fields, sadly. Like, he has been kind of the same guy. Obviously, it hasn't been as bad as that very first game against the Browns, but I think the rookie issues are still very much there with him. I don't see them turning around.
This 49ers offense, though, has almost been as bad. I mean, over the last 3 weeks, they went 31st in EPA per play. In yards per play, they're bottom 3. Like, they have been very bad over the last 3 weeks. Do we know if a healthy Jimmy G or healthy Trey Lance is going to be in this one? Are they going to be a little 2 QB combination? What's the play there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Jimmy G. I mean, and again, last week in the pouring rain, not going to take too many sweeping takeaways from his play.
I'm interested to see who starts, and I'm looking at the injury information. I think they're both listed as questionable, both the quarterbacks there. So we will see how this rolls for 49ers. I like the dog, though. Plus 3.5. Let's run it. Steelers at Browns. Browns favored by 3.5, right ahead of that key number with the hook. That is that half. I'm of the opinion that if this injury report, that is an absolute laundry list of names for the Browns, if they are healthy in this one, they cover this one easily. They should be getting Jack Conklin back. I think Baker Mayfield is expected to play. You have OBJ questionable, Jadeveon Clowney questionable, Nick Chubb questionable, Jarvis Landry questionable. Do you get all these guys back? And if you do, I think they cover. But I think a lot of this uncertainty is baked into the line and why it's still just 3.5.
Yes, so Jack Conklin came back and played. And that's big because obviously he'll be matched up against TJ Watt a lot. And you feel far better about that than a backup tackle. It is the other side of the ball, though, the other group of tackles that I think are in danger, because obviously Myles Garrett, and Jadeveon Clowney expected to play. He already has more pressures this year than he did in all of 2020. He's got 31 pressures. He has been an impact player, has come on strong of late. Actually has some different moves this year than I've seen from him in years past in terms of how being able to win the edge. That was kind of his Achilles heel in prior seasons that we've talked about before on the podcast. So I think that Big Ben's going to be under siege, and that's Browns covering.
Eagles before we actually jump off of that, did you have a reaction to Mike Tomlin's reaction to the USC question? What was your take on like how against it he was, like the energy behind that take?
Yeah, I mean, it was an absurd thing for Carson Palmer to say at the time. Like, in the moment, it's like Mike Tomlin saying he's going to coach USC when he has been an NFL head coach for whatever, 13, 14 years, whatever it is at this point. He has been extremely successful.
At one of the most storied franchises in the NFL.
That famously doesn't, like, gives their head coaches long leashes. He would be an idiot to leave that job unless, like I said, there's not a check big enough, a booster check big enough. It's like that never should have even been float. Like, you can see why people would ask Urban Meyer that question, a former college head coach, to be the guy who thinks that is a serious question needed to ask. And I get why it's asked, but like, it is not. There was no chance in hell any objective outside observer laughed at that when Carson Palmer even said it.
That's my take too. I think some people were saying
and
that.
my other take is USC is not as big as they think they are.
Some people were saying, I saw some counter arguments that Mike Tomlin doesn't have to shouldn't he be honored that he's considered for the job? I would be kind of pissed. There's no reason for him to even be considering a USC job.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. USC is not as big as they think.
It shits on two things. The question shits on two things, or like the rumor shits on two things. Mike Tomlin is a head coach, and the Steelers is a franchise. And like, I think both those things are not in an area where they can be. You know, like, I think you're not asking, like you said, Urban Meyer and the Jags and that franchise. It hasn't been around nearly as long as the Steelers, and Urban Meyer is literally a former college coach. All right, Eagles at Lions. Lions plus 3.5. I put in my notes, all caps, feed me Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell coming off one of the best coaching performances I've seen as a multiple possession dog. Now he's a 3.5-point dog at home. He's got the hook. Eagles are a bottom 10 defense in the NFL. I love, in an ugly, ugly game, I'm not saying it's going to be pretty, in an ugly game with hopefully some more surprise onside kicks, some more surprise stuff on special teams, I love Detroit Lions plus 3.5 at home. I might take the money line. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so the Lions are 0-7. They have not won a game. That sounds bad. And that is bad. You should win games in the NFL. But here's the thing. They've had a pretty difficult schedule. It has been Ravens, Packers, Rams, Bengals, Vikings, 49ers, and Bears. And now 4 of those teams are almost or very likely making the playoffs. The first 4 I mentioned. 2 still have an outside chance. The Bears are obviously the Bears, but like they covered this number against some good teams like the Ravens, like the Vikings, to where 3.5 with the Eagles kind of, sending that message of trading Zach Ertz, a veteran leader, not a good message to send to your locker room, basically saying, hey, that's kind of curtains on this season. Yeah, I'll take the Lions if it's 3. I like the Lions at home.
Are you going to grab the money line with me?
Let's not go that far. They've lost a lot of close games.
Fair. This next game we have here is one I honestly want to avoid betting altogether. I think it will be a really good game, but it's a tough one for me to lean either side. I mean, most 1-point spreads are, but Titans at Colts. Colts at home are a 1-point dog. Carson Wentz has been phenomenal. Phenomenal, maybe aggressive, but solid. Way better than he has been before over the last 2 weeks.
Last week, but I mean, it was the rain. But
yeah. Well, it wasn't winning football. Winning football in the rain is good.
PIs in the rain.
PIs in the rain.
Underthrow deep balls were good.
Yeah, but I do think Carson Wentz has looked a lot better over the last 2 weeks. This team is playing a lot better. I'm big on the Colts keeping this a game, and I don't really like either side. If I had to lean one, I would lean Tennessee. I think Tennessee is the better football team. But I think they're both finding their groove of late. I'd lean Titans, but I don't want to bet it really.
Yeah, I'm leaning Titans big in this one, honestly.
Really?
I think that's just a damn good offensive football team. And one story that I cannot believe has not gotten more attention this year. David Questenberry. You know who David Questenberry is? The right tackle.
Yeah.
Tennessee Titans. The guy who had lymphoma back in 2014. Cancer. 6th-round pick. Broke his foot his rookie year. Cancer his second year. He's one of the highest graded tackles in the NFL this year. I believe he has a top 5 run blocking grade among all tackles this season. This is in year 8 that he has finally developed. Finally, his first year as a full-time starter, getting the job. He has been excellent for that Tennessee Titans offense. That story, I blew my mind that I hadn't heard and really noticed this about the Titans. But man, that deserves more attention. The guy is playing out of his mind and could not happen to a guy who's been through more in his NFL career.
Damn, that is dope. I didn't know that story at all. I knew of Questenberry, but I did not know the background. That is really cool for Questenberry. Before we move forward and check out the 4 p.m. slate and others, NFL fans hungry for a big win, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. Its Sportsbook isn't available in your state. DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets if they win. You win with promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Bengals at Jets. Jets are 10-point dogs at home. No Zach Wilson. Mike White will be starting in this game. And I'm done. I'm done fading the Bengals.
You need to because they've been good. Every time you guys fade them, they've won, I think. Every time I think you faded them against the Steelers, you faded them against the Ravens, and you faded them against
probably another team too.
And they won.
Packers. We did fade them against the Packers, but then I think they still covered against the Packers. Even though
I'll say this, Quinn. I'm sorry. I was going to originally take the Bengals, but you're right. I need to stick to my guns here. I'm taking Jets plus 10. Mike White, give it to me.
I'm taking the Bengals. I can't. I think Mike White's starting at quarterback.
I'm doing it for Cincinnati. This is for Cincinnati.
Mike White's starting at quarterback,
and I think he's going to get 10. Should I say it, Quinn? There's no way in hell. There's no way in hell the Bengals cover this 10.
There's no way they blow out the Jets.
There's no way they blow out the Jets. No,
the honorable franchise that's been so good of late.
No, in all seriousness, I like the Bengals a lot. There's a big reason why they're favored by 10 on the road against Mike White. They've been phenomenal this year. But to save Cincinnati, to give Quinn City some opportunity, I'm going to pick the Jets plus 10 to kind of continue that narrative.
Yeah.
All right. Rams at Texans. You put in here, this is the one. Hold your nose and take it line.
This is the hold your nose and take it, which, I mean, you might as well just rename the Texans line.
Rams at Texans. Texans are home and 14-point dogs. And I say nay.
Oh.
I'm not holding my nose. You know why?
You're going to give it.
Tyrod Taylor's back in action.
Yeah.
Ready to prove
the one
why.
time they covered this year was – or no, the one time they won this year, excuse me.
Yeah. I think Tyrod Taylor coming back is a massive play. They're also at home.
Not wrong.
I'm not plugging my nose here. I'm cheering on Tyrod Taylor and the Houston Texans at 14. I think with analysis for big lines like this, I mean, you're rooting for back doors. You're doing a lot of, this is not – the Rams are rightfully favored by 14. You could see this thing at 14.5. They could blow them out. But Tyrod Taylor coming back, I don't think the line adjusts for that. I don't think they cover the 14.
I would disagree with you there. I just struggled to see them move the ball offensively. Once again, obviously no Laramie Tunsil in this one. He's on IR. Interior for that offensive line. You got pass blocking grades for their center guard of 54.4, 49.2, 53.7. That's your starting center guard. And they got to block Aaron Donald. So
David Culley said he's going to double team him though. So what? It's already been accounted for. It
doesn't matter.
It's already been accounted for. Yeah. David Culley's got it. 4 p.m. slate, Patriots at Chargers. Chargers favored by 5.5 at home. Patriots plus 5.5, if you listen to the NFL podcast on PFF's network with Sam and Steve, is a podcast pick for them. They like Patriots plus 5.5. However, Chargers, Justin Herbert, Brandon Staley, favorite to win coach of the year, coming off a bye, only a 5.5-point favorite over a bad Patriots team, in my opinion, a defense that has underwhelmed. I like Justin Herbert.
Interesting. See, I like the Patriots in this one. And
Wow.
I'll throw some schematics at you.
Throw me in.
Because you look at, just to go back to, I guess, Brandon Staley's defense against the Packers last year in the playoffs, when the Packers just rolled the Rams. When it was just Aaron Rodgers hitting the flats, handing it off, hitting the flats, handing it off. Didn't even think about attacking down the football field. That is the Patriots offense. That is what they do to a T. And that is, obviously, Brandon Staley knows he's going to probably adjust. He's going to have some sort of game plan to go against it. But I think still, with what the Chargers, how basically Brandon Staley runs that defense with the two high shells, I think the Patriots are uniquely situated from a personnel perspective to take advantage of it. So, yes, it's on the road. Yes, it's over in LA. But 5.5 is a big number against a team that I think will have some offensive success against them. So there you go. There you have it. There's my.
I don't think that number is big enough. I like the Chargers, and I like them a lot. Chargers minus 5.5 off a bye. Give it to me. They've been outstanding this year. I think after that Baltimore Ravens loss, put some bad tape on that they can review. I think Herbert bounces back. Jaguars, Seahawks. Seahawks favored by 3.5 over the hapless Jaguars here. I know Urban Meyer's coming off a bye, Mike. I know. It's not enough for me. And I got
Urban's going to be magician off the bye. How dare you?
He's not going to be a magician off the bye. And I'll say this.
Reed off the bye.
I got on you for backing Sam Darnold and willingly betting Sam Darnold. I'm willingly betting Geno Smith.
You're betting a 3.5-point fave Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
All right.
I don't like the Jaguars. You like the Jaguars to cover on the road? Cross-country trip to Seattle?
I think from what I've seen from Trevor Lawrence of late, he is a upper half of the NFL quarterback.
Better quarterback getting points.
Yeah, exactly. Better quarterback getting points against. Yeah, it's going to be environment's going to be tough. It's going to be like him. Gosh, there's no. I'm trying to think of an ACC environment that would be like. It'd be like him, and I don't know if he's actually playing an environment that loud. I'm trying to think of a team, but there's probably not one. But it's going to be silent counts, whatever. It's going to be different. That being said, he's still the far better quarterback in this game. The Seahawks corners are still the Seahawks corners. I just like the Jags in that.
There are louder environments at Columbus bars, Urban Meyer can attest, than there are in the ACC. I'll say that. Football team at Broncos. Broncos favored by 3. This one is interesting because I do think that – here's a question for you before we get into this one. Denver was not supposed to lose that game, last week, where Case Keenum comes in on a short week and they lose. Is this a – win or you're done for Vic Fangio? Like, is this Vic Fangio's fate here? They're favored by 3 over a bad football team, the Washington football team.
Yes.
My take is that Denver's going to throw the kitchen sink at these guys. Part of me wants to side with the football team. I like that defense more, but maybe I don't. I part of me wants to side with the football team.
You like the defense more, but maybe you don't.
I like the football team. I like the quarterback more. I like the volatility of Heineke. I like even though it's high and low, I like the highs. Teddy Bridgewater consistently average, as we know. Okay. But I think Broncos are going to be coaching for their life here, throwing everything they've got. You know what? I flip back and forth. I like Broncos minus 3.
I like the football team on the road. This is the Tua Bowl. This is loser gets Tua, winner gets Tua. I don't know how that's going to work, but
I don't think either team. Win doesn't matter.
I'm kidding. Yeah, I know. I think the Broncos are free fall right now. Like locker room lost, free fall, no linebackers on the roster.
They just traded for Kenny Young.
I know. It's just going very bad in a number of routes, and Teddy is like on the brink of getting benched to where.
No, this is it.
Football team.
This is where the Broncos
Give
are
me the
going.
football team in that D-line.
Broncos are right here. I don't know. Let's show the camera. And now guess where they're at?
That's great podcast content.
Backs against the wall, Mike. Their backs are against the wall. And it's time to just bounce back here. Big Teddy win. They started the season 3-0.
Yeah.
Let's run it back. Football team's cheeks. Let's run it. Bucks at Saints. Saints are 5-point dogs at home. This is one of my favorite bets. How in the hell are the Saints only 5-point, or how are the Bucks only 5-point favorites over the Saints? I know it's on the road.
Yeah.
It's in a dome with Brady, who's playing like MVP levels. Is the favorite to lead the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns this season. Yeah. He's been an absolute terror. The Saints have had no level of consistency. One of my favorite bets of the week. I love Bucks -5.
I do too. That being that low is wild to me. I thought that should have been at least a touchdown line. Yeah, I get it's on the road, and yeah, I get it's a divisional opponent, and what is it? Throw the records out when they meet. But I don't think you can throw the records out. You can't throw out the tape that they've been throwing out offensively, the New Orleans Saints, and it's bad. And it's like, how do you beat the Bucs right now? How do you beat that Bucs defense and what they throw at you? You got to have guys that can separate quickly against those corners because they're going to play a lot of man concepts, a lot of blitz stuff. And if you don't, which the New Orleans Saints decidedly don't without Michael Thomas. I said at the beginning of the season, the guy who's on IR that's the biggest impact for any team in the NFL is Michael Thomas right now because they have no one now. Their leading receiver, Marquez Callaway. For a 16-game season, he would be on pace for 677 yards. That is an atrocity in today's NFL. And again, I don't think they can take advantage of where the Bucs are weakest defensively.
Yeah, this is a blowout at home. Sorry, this is a blowout at home for the Saints. I think the Bucs come in and dominate.
Yeah, like obviously we pick every game. This is one that like load up a little bit, load up a few more units on this one because I feel good.
Here come the units. Cowboys at Vikings. Vikings favored, 2.5-point dogs in Minnesota at home. I know the NFL podcast likes the Vikings, and you like the Vikings as well.
After some Cheeks, sort of, have you heard Cheeks primetime slate last week? I like the primetime slate this week. Packers-Cards, even if Devontae's not playing. And then I love this game. I love this matchup for a number of reasons. One's just the wide receiver talent. I mean, they have guys both sides of football that can get open. I think it's going to be a shootout of sorts. And now sneakily, the Vikings, their only losses have come to the Bengals, Cardinals, and Browns. Those are their only losses. And they've been in every single game so far this season. I like them at home as dogs.
Wow. I mean, I like Dallas Cowboys a ton. I mean, Dallas Cowboys, I know they were on the bye last week, and maybe people forget, but this is a top 3 offense in the NFL. I think I'm riding with Dak Prescott in this offense. I think he's right now number 2 or number 3 as the favorite to win the MVP. That's Dak Prescott. Coming off a bye, I like Dallas -2.5.
And the other thing I'll add here is that I think this offense, with Christian Darrisaw instead of Rashad Hill, is going to be far more consistent going forward. I just think that is a massive, massive upgrade and a sort of a place on that roster, a place on that offense where you don't have to necessarily, like every third down and long, you don't have to be like, we have to chip for Rashad Hill. He can't go one-on-one. That doesn't have to be the case anymore. I just think it will be, that will keep them on schedule so much more consistently.
What's wild is this line, I believe, opened at 2.5. It's actually been bet down to 1.5 in favor of your Vikings there. It obviously doesn't go through a key number. There's not a lot of win. There's not a lot of cover probability added to that right now.
The Lions have lost 2 games by 2 this year, so don't never say never.
Sorry. Green line sees a 2.7% edge on the Dallas Cowboys. 82% of the tickets bet on this game have been on the Dallas Cowboys.
What the hell is Green line now?
What the hell does Green line know? DeMarcus Lawrence is on the IR. Michael Gallup on the injured reserve, but designated to return. We'll see if they get him back. I do think Dallas. I still like Dallas, even though I'm siding with Green line. Sometimes you got to just side with the math, man. Side with the math. Giants at Chiefs. This one is your second part 2. Hold your nose and take it. And I'm telling you again, no. I'm not going to hold my nose and take it. I like New York Giants. I like Daniel Jones. I like them to cover 9.5. Even though it is on the road, this defense is not getting any better. And if you are going to be a 9.5-point favorite over the Giants, you're going to have to show up. And I don't think this defense shows up. I like the Giants to cover.
I don't. I'll just say I don't like the Giants to cover. I just think there's been a lot of talk about the Chiefs' offense and how the turnovers that they've experienced so far have been fluky. Yeah, like the rate, Eric Eager tweeted out today that Patrick Mahomes' turnover-worthy play rate, almost identical to last year, but obviously the turnovers he's been at 100% turnover-worthy play to interception conversion rate. Like when he makes a bad decision, it has got to take advantage of. And they have, so I think that's like bound to regress. He's bound to have the ball bounce the other way at some point. And I just don't trust this Giants offense. I'm sorry. I just like, for all the teams that have taken advantage of KC's lackluster defense, they have not looked like this Giants offense. It has actually been good offenses that have taken advantage of it. I still think against the lesser offenses around the NFL, aka what the Giants have been, they can shut them down.
I will say this, same,
or at least limit them.
The same notes I made about Denver about how I think the kitchen sink is coming, and I'm not saying Andy Reid's coaching for his job, but I do think the Chiefs want to freaking bounce back. They want to stop being the butt of every joke every single week about how they're not meeting expectations. This will be, I think, a very high effort, high energy approach from Kansas City, looking to like blow out at home in Arrowhead against the Giants. I still think, though, Daniel Dimes, coming off the catch of his career, by the way, will go in and cover this number. Shall we get to Mailbag season?
Let's do it.
Mailbag every Thursday. If you leave a review on Apple Podcasts with a question or follow Tailgate on Twitter, PFF_Tailgate, we will answer your question on the Thursday episode. And in draft season, we do bonus episodes. We do 4 episodes a week in draft season to account for a lot of these questions. Mm-hmm. Mike might also be doing a call-in show on YouTube in the draft season. It could be a good time this offseason, but make sure you're tuning in now.
I'm going to drop a lot. I'm going to turn into a coward and just be saying everyone's fun to watch.
I love that, actually. I love that,
actually. Content.
The more I think about it, I got to get ahead of this. He is fun to watch. Case Keenum.
Oh. I thought you were going to say coward. I'm like, yeah, coward's like all right to watch.
No, he's good. He's entertaining. All right, this is from Discord Ian Seraph on Apple Podcasts. My question, can you make a case for Justin Tucker, kicker for the Baltimore Ravens, returning first-round value over the course of his career, or does the position just not affect the game enough?
Yes. From like a win percentage added standpoint, he is worth first-round pick if you compare him to like an average first-round.
If you were guaranteed his career.
But that's the thing. It's you're guaranteed his first if you're guaranteed what he has done up to his career at this point. The problem is when it's the question posed by Daniel Jeremiah, who was said, I believe that was him, right? Who said he asked NFL GMs or NFL GM texted him how many teams would trade a first rounder for Justin Tucker right now. It is you don't know what you're going to get going forward necessarily. And kickers can be variable. And he has been an outlier of his career in terms of how little he has varied from elite kicker play. But one, the biggest thing is the average first rounder does not return as much as you might think. Mm-hmm. The hit rate in that area is not nearly as high as you would say. And two, he has been such a massive outlier at the position, but that doesn't mean he will be going forward. So I think, yes, if you could guarantee me you've had his career, yeah, you trade a first rounder for him. If you would to ask me that right now to trade a first rounder for him, I would not do it.
My take too is that if you're going to get into these hypotheticals where you're guaranteed X career, there are a lot of positions in the NFL and a lot of players that are even having average to above average careers where you'd be like, yeah, I'd do 2 first rounders if I was guaranteed even average to above average play, like certain tackles in the NFL, pass rushers, like, hey, like he's not worth a first rounder right now, but if you're guaranteed like this play, it's like, hell yeah, I'm taking this shit because like most of the times it's not guaranteed.
But that again is the biggest thing, is that there's no guarantee going forward, but retrospectively, yes.
Todd is boy on Apple Podcasts. I'm a Jags fan, and I saw in your most recent mock draft that PFF had the Jags taking Evan Neal at number 3 overall, the Alabama offensive tackle. I personally think this is silly, since the Jags drafted Walker Little in the second last year. Walker Little, the former Stanford offensive tackle, also a PFF darling.
Love him.
And still have Juwan Taylor, former Florida offensive tackle, I think now entering year 4, year 5, who isn't very good, but isn't atrocious. I believe
love that assessment, by the way. Do we take a good tackle? We have one that isn't very good.
But he isn't
atrocious. No,
I believe we have bigger issues at a variety of other positions, such as receiver or secondary. Do you think it would be a good idea for the Jags to trade down a few picks in order to get someone like Garrett Wilson or Kyle Hamilton? I don't know if you're going to trade down and get Kyle Hamilton. The guy's looking like a chipper, a blue one, if the situation presented itself. Your answer.
Yeah, so there's...
I like that. I like those hand moves.
I guess two different things here. And the first would be, I wouldn't prioritize one position if you're the Jags. You have a lot of positions that suck. Address the best player.
The team is bad.
Exactly. Like, you have a lot of positions that are issues. Get talent wherever you can get it. That's why, like, when they drafted a running back last year, we were like, what the hell? Go get go get cornerstone talent, running backs,
premium positions.
Exactly, a guy that can be with your franchise the next decade. That's what you need in Jacksonville. You don't need a guy who's going to be there 4 or 5 years, like we've said with running backs in first round. So if you make it to their second contracts with their team that drafted them. So, 1, do that. And then 2, the problem with trading down, and while we are PFF are the trade down kings, we will never disagree with the trade down. That is, we've banged the table as much as we can for that. The problem is the ROI at the top of the draft when there's not a quarterback there. There's just not going to be teams being like, hey, I have to go get Evan Neal.
2 first-rounders.
Exactly. Giving you the return that's going to justify passing on a guy like Evan Neal when you will be starting him next year because he's probably going to be better than Juwan Taylor or Walker Little, one of those two. Like that's the problem there. And, yeah, we love a trade down if you can get something good, but I'm just not sure the offers are going to be there for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think that's a fair assessment. I know there's still a lot of tape to be ground. But I think already you could say right now there aren't going to be a lot of teams clamoring like the San Francisco 49ers to move multiple first-round picks to go up and get a quarterback because there's just not going to be those type of dogs at the top of the draft.
Snorting the tape.
You snort any tape?
Big tape guy.
Nice. I inject the tape. I've injected a handful of tapes. All right, Cole Toon. I think it's Toon on Twitter. Everyone is talking about how poor the offensive talent is in this draft class, especially compared to the previous 2 years.
Not McShay and Kiper. Apparently.
Oh, no. Drake London's number 4 overall player. For teams in need of offensive talent, is there hope for 2023? This is what I love. This is the draft, man. They're already thinking about 2023. Yeah. This guy's, I always bring up that same image of the guy from It's Always Sunny, where the guy's like at the board and he's like, all right, there's not a lot of offensive talent in this class. We look ahead to 2023. And we hope this guy, Charlie Day, that's him. But that's what Cole Toon is right now. Let me finish the question. Who are the exciting prospects in the 2023 class and how do they compare to this upcoming class?
So running back and tight end, I'd say there's no guy at the top. There's no, obviously, McShay is Jalen Whittemore, 19th overall. I don't quite see it the same. There's no.
Is it Whittemore or Weidermeyer?
I'm going to call him Whittemore.
I like Weidermeyer.
I know you do because that's what you keep saying.
Okay, fair enough.
But I was going to go with Whittemore. But I don't think there's a guy at the top that I'm like, okay, yeah, we could draft him in the first round. Now, next year's running back class, and obviously we're never going to say that about running back class, but next year's running back class looks legitimately special at this point in time, whether it's Bijan Robinson, Tank Bigsby. Bijan Robinson of Texas, Tank Bigsby of Auburn. I think those guys are dudes. Like running backs that we haven't seen since, Saquon. That good of prospects. So that's how I feel about next year's running back class. Wide receiver class, I'm not sure it's great right now, but again, sophomore to junior year, a lot of big leaps to be had still. So you got guys like Kayshon Boutte from LSU, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I think it's Boutte.
Boutte. I like Boutte better. I'll just get it.
I know you do. Go ahead.
So I keep saying it. Smith and Jigba from Ohio State, Marvin Mims from Oklahoma, Josh Downs, of North Carolina. There are some guys there that already look like they're going to be pretty damn good. And then the tight end class, though, this is where we're starting to get interested. Michael Mayer from Notre Dame, the Georgia duo, Darnell Washington, Arik Gilbert. That could be a nice tight end class with some real guys you might think about in round 1.
I'll say this now. I already like Boutte a ton. But I also think I'm going to be a big fan of Smith Njigba. I think Smith Njigba is a dude. I'm a huge fan of his game. He's already been really good for Ohio State. When they have Olave, they have Wilson, he still shows up game in and game out. He has been.
I mean, he forced J-Mo Williams to transfer.
Yeah, he's a monster. I'm a big fan of Smith Njigba of Ohio State. All right, this is from Paolo 101. I don't know if you can pronounce it like that, but we will. Was the Rams' decision in the 2016 draft to trade with the Titans for the first overall pick one of the most impactful trades of the 21st century? Rams got Goff, Titans got Henry.
I think if you're going the most impactful trades in recent memory, it's got to be the Mahomes one. If we're draft day trades, Mahomes to KC, moving up from pick 27 all the way to number 10, gave up their first rounder in 2018, their third rounder in 2017, that first rounder in 2018. So they traded with the Bills is the other thing here. So the Bills pass Mahomes. Then they the next year go and trade up and get Josh Allen, knowing they have those 2 first rounders there. And then that ended up being, I believe, the 22nd pick in 2018, which ended up going to the Ravens at one point. And then the Ravens traded back and then traded back in the first round for Lamar Jackson. So that ended up shaping the entire AFC. The course of that trade ended up being how everyone. So that trade passed through all 3 of the teams that ended up being kind of like the upper echelon of the AFC right now in Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes, kind of led to all those quarterbacks landing where they did.
You did your research on that one. That's
That
the
one
most
was-
impactful trade
Yes.
potentially in NFL history. I mean, there's two
Just like-
MVPs in that trade.
And obviously, that was the one trade didn't directly result in all three of those
It was the
quarterbacks,
ripple.
but the ripple effect from it did end up in that.
Billy Price was
butterfly.
also a part of that trade.
Was he?
Yeah, Bengals traded with the Bills that year.
Yeah.
Wow,
That was
so you
the,
didn't bring up Billy Price.
Cordy Glenn. Right?
I will say Paulo 101, no trade that is the best of the 21st century is going to include Jared Goff. I think you need in Super Bowl
Yeah.
impactful type of trades.
I mean, the Titans have made what? One AFC championship. The Goff made a Super Bowl. Still hasn't resulted in any Super Bowl trophies.
Thumb_NFL Scout on Twitter. That's my burner. I had to ask you this question. What's your wide receiver rankings in 2022? Who are your guys? Also, please tell me on Kenny Pickett. Who should the Giants target? Well, he's got a lot of questions. Who should the Giants target with the likely 2 top 15 picks? Should Gettleman be fired? Love the pod tailgate hat on the way. That's my guy, Thumb NFL Scout. Start with the first one. Wide receiver rankings for 2022. Who are your guys?
So my guys, probably the ones I'm like higher on than the consensus. Garrett Wilson. I just think he is that all-around separator that wins in the NFL. I think that guy, you tell me one guy is going to be a wide receiver one that you can rely on in this draft class. It's Garrett Wilson. That's how I feel. That's why he's the top guy. The actual rankings of them right now, I believe, were Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London, Treylon Burks, Jameson Williams. That's the top 5. And then my other guy outside that top 5 that I really like is Romeo Doubs, Nevada. Bigger, physical wide receiver. I think could also separate, has really good ball skills and really good deep speed. So I'm a fan of his game. We're talking about guys at this point. Sell you on Kenny Pickett. I'm still not sold. I just said after this Clemson game, I would think about him towards the end of round 1. I'm not. If you're thinking about a guy towards the end of round 1, that's not being sold on a quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I would struggle to do so. But I do think his not make mistakes with the football this year. I think his arm talent is very evident in terms of the zip he puts on footballs. He has those tools, has some escapability, has size, 6'3", 220, a lot of boxes physically for the NFL. I still think some of this production is fool's gold. I still think some of it's not going to translate to the NFL. I still worry about him being late to throws, holding on the football a little too long. That's not going to fly, obviously, at the NFL level. So I'm still a little worried, but the tools are kind of what you would be sold on, and this leap being so massive. And the fact that he said he was going to drink some beers after being Clemson. I think he's a everyman's man.
You love that. I have to get him on the pod. I know he's done an interview with Trevor Sikkema, another analyst here. Maybe we'll get him on the pod here soon. Who should the Giants target with their top 215 picks? And should Gettleman be fired? There's a couple more.
Okay, I can't speak on such things. I will let the Giants record speak on that thing for itself. Mm-hmm. But who should they target? There's not a position I don't think they can. I would love
maybe
one of those,
not defensive line,
not defensive tackles.
Yeah.
Don't draft Jordan Davis. So from that perspective, maybe we shouldn't have Gettleman take this draft. No, I'm kidding. But edge is going to be where talent is, value talent. Again, we talk about when it's deep classes, that usually means they get pushed down because someone sees it as I can get one later. Oh, whatever. It just the talent, when Tristan Wirfs falls to 13 to the Bucks. So when it's a deep class, so it's deep class in the edge. Definitely get one of them in next year's class.
Love to see it. On to our next guy here. This is Ryan Davis on Twitter. As a Ravens fan, I believe we should look to strengthen cornerback in the early rounds of next year's draft with Jimmy Smith, Tavon Young, and Marcus Peters being frequently injured. What are your thoughts on this? Love the show. I mean, I know you're going to say this too, but anytime a fan is adamant about upgrading the secondary in the draft, you're always going to pour support. Adding cornerback talent in the draft is something we always stand for. This is also a very good cornerback class.
Yeah, and we saw it against the Bengals with the way that defense is schemed. They have to have corners that win one-on-ones. So yes, I would love more corners for that team. Obviously, Marcus Peters getting up there in age off of a serious injury, that's scary. Jimmy Smith getting way up there in age. I don't think you can rely on him too much anymore going forward. And the good news is, the Ravens, organizationally, how they've approached the draft for agency, I think you can bank on them adding one. They have invested in that position heavily. They know that that's a driver of success, the way they scheme in the NFL. So, yeah, I think should and will is my answer to that.
I think there's going to be a lot of top 50 cornerbacks taken. I think in that range of 15 to 40, 15 to 30. There's gonna be a ton of cornerbacks. Andrew Booth, Ahmad Gardner, Trent McDuffie. I mean, we talked about a lot of these guys. Martin Emerson, in addition to Kyrie Elam and Derek Stingley. There's gonna be a lot of cornerbacks taken in this class. I think it's gonna be a fun one to follow. All right, Lions fan.
Would you call it fun to watch?
I think it's gonna be a fun one to follow.
Okay.
Fun to follow. I think that's kind of a shit take. I think it's going to be a good cornerback class, and I'm excited to see more good corners in the NFL. All right, Brian Fitzgerald on Twitter, Lions fan here. When drafting, if we had the number 1 overall pick in 2022, wouldn't it be most important to attack secondary instead of defensive end? PFF mocks have this reversed, as is seen in most actual drafts. Chase Young versus Kuda. Go.
Well, one, I don't think they end up with number 1 overall. I'll just say it.
Who?
I think the Texans end up number 1 overall. You know this. 2, if they do, and they are looking at that board, I do think you go Thibodeau because of the certainty of evaluation. And at cornerback, you go, Derek Stingley. Love Derek Stingley. Blue chip prospect. Is a lead cornerback prospect, probably, as we've seen since Jalen Ramsey coming out. Freakishly talented all around. He has played press man coverage at LSU. You might have a defense next year that plays off zone. You might change coordinators 2 years from now and do something differently. You're never going to change defenses such that Kayvon Thibodeau is not rushing the passer. And you kind of saw it with, Whitney Merciless comes over from the Texans, goes to the Packers, and is playing 5 days later and playing his highest graded game of the year. Why is that? Because the role you're playing, or basically what you're doing at defensive end, is simplistic. It is attack this gap, attack that gap, run a stunt, like it is not super technique driven from what you're asked to do within a scheme. So when you see Kayvon Thibodeau dominating, you can feel more confident that guy will dominate at the next level than when you see Derek Stingley dominating press man coverage. You say, oh, what if we're calling off cover 6 or some shit? I don't even know what. Just as a random example. He may not be as well-versed in that, or it's just he has far more on his plate that you don't feel as confident in your evaluation of that prospect to where, I'll pay for that certainty. I know Kayvon Thibodeau is going to impact passers.
I would agree. I mean, I would agree with that. Kayvon Thibodeau is the selection at number 1 overall. I think that one you can almost like pencil / Sharpie in for any team drafting there, right? I mean, I don't even think it's going to be Lions-specific or anyone.
Yeah, the quarterback class at this point, you never say never. Obviously, teams can fall in love, and the desperation's always real. But
you never say never unless you're Mike Tomlin.
I mean, it could shit. If the Texans are there, Texans could draft quarterback. You never know. They've done crazy shit in recent years. So.
Fair enough. I loved that quote from Tomlin though, in that whole spiel. Never say never, but freaking never. that was incredible from Tomlin. Cool.
Any more questions? The end when he's like, any more questions?
Yeah. Right now, Kayvon Thibodeau is the favorite to be the number 1 overall pick at -110. After that, it is Malik Willis at +300. Or no, Matt Corral at +300. Malik Willis at +500. And Carson Strong at +500. Spencer Rattler all the way down to +2,000. Who was the betting favorite, by the way, entering the preseason. All right. Before we get to trivia, we have trivia at the back end of the day's show, and a new addition to the Thursday podcast I want to run.
Oh.
Going to shout out Manscaped. It's football season, baby, and you know what that means. It means we're going for 2 here with the sponsors of today's show, Manscaped. Blitzing through hairs has never been easier. It's time for you to join 2 million men worldwide, including Mike and Quinn and Dave and Renner, who trust Manscaped by using code PFF at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. It's 3 and out the window with all trimmers. Well, other trimmers. Now go tame that Wildcat offense. I don't leave the house without the trimmer. You never know when you need to get a buzz down low. And that's feedback I wish I had at a younger age, And I think now having Manscaped, having the trimmer, has left me in just better spirits. The brand new Lawnmower 4.0 is here to take your defense to the next level. This 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on-off switch, can engage a travel lock, and gives you the ability to turn on a 4,000 LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. Did I mention the trimmer is waterproof too? Rain, snow, sleet are no match for the waterproof power of the 4.0. There's no 15-yard penalty for this clipping. Get 20% off and free shipping with code PFF at manscaped.com. That is 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use code PFF. Stiff arm your pubes out the playoffs with Manscaped. New addition to the show. On Thursdays, in between the mailbag and trivia, I want to shout out a diehard follower of Tailgate. We shouted out Charlie, and it got me thinking. I want to add this. There's another guy who consistently DMs the Tailgate pod or me and talks about the pod and asks good questions and helps fuel the pod, and also participated in the survey when we went through the brand change. At C Sports Bros on Twitter, goes by Bernie as well. He's got Bernie Sanders in his profile picture. He is a consistent follower of Tailgate. I want to give him a big shout out. Love that. On to trivia.
Is he the one who had the good reply to the tweet? Who had the good reply?
Don't
to
stay there
tweet?
too long. Yeah, that's him. Yeah. See that? So he's got the inside jokes going. That's what I look for.
Yeah, when we took a pick at Alabama, he said, "Don't stay there too long," knowing that. Well,
I booked the flights like a dumbass.
Austin didn't make us stay there too long.
We got in.
To tell a story about that, I was on the plane after we. So first off, we get on this plane on the way back, and I'm not feeling great, obviously, to begin with. It's up like 3 hours, driven like an hour to get to the airport.
And we weren't hungover.
The plane had no windows. I've never been on a plane, I don't think, in my entire life that didn't have windows. I'm like, what's weird about this plane? I'm like, holy shit, there's no windows. And so when we land, like I didn't realize we were landing. We slam. The person next to me jumped out of their seat just about. Like I thought we were crashing. It was the scariest landing of my life. And I'm already not feeling good. And I'm in row like 35. And so everyone's starting to get up, get in the aisle. And I'm like, stomach's not feeling good. Stomach's actually feeling really, really bad. Head not feeling good. I'm about to scream, like, just let me off this fucking plane. I was like very down bad.
You were that close?
I really was. I was like losing my mind. I'm shaking back there. I'm just like, okay, hold it together. Finally got off, got some food, felt a little better. But my God, I am never taking a 5:30 a.m. flight after a football game for the rest of my life.
That was incredible. I want to apologize to you and to Dave about those flights.
Right.
We got in early and left early. It was brutal. You at least had the Sky Club. You're a Sky Club member, so you're always getting in the free food. Your airport experience is different than mine. Rich people, who knows? All right, Quinn, you got mailbag questions or trivia questions?
Yeah, I do. I got 3 of them. We got 2 listeners submitted, so keep sending those in. First one, you guys ready?
Yeah.
From King Jamie on Twitter. Of all the Texans free agent signings, only one contract is longer than 2 years. Who is it? This is a tough one.
God, that is tough. They got so many. Did they give Mark Ingram a 2-year contract?
I don't know. That's Mark Ingram is not the answer.
Okay.
But he might have a 2-year contract.
Let me think. I'll figure it out. I'm just trying to think of people who play for the Texans right now.
I don't know. I'm stuck in the backfield. I also want to say Philip Lindsay, but maybe they didn't.
You guys are not on the right path.
Not on the right path. I'll go free agent signings. There's just no way I'm going to.
I have no idea.
Cam Johnston, the punter.
Come on.
There was no way I was.
King Jamie.
It was King Jamie. Yeah, sorry, King Jamie. That was a good one. He signed for 3 years, 8 M's. So
wow,
they're shelling out some dough.
Cornerstone. Franchise cornerstone.
Cornerstone. Gotta have him. All right, here we go. Number 2. On Saturday, Tailgate is headed to Jacksonville for the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Can't call it
Number
that.
1, Georgia. Why can't I call it that?
It's a
trademark.
It's officially not called that anymore. It's called the something dumb
What?
rivalry. It's called the rivalry ride the river or something. It's awful.
I hate it. Call it again, Quinn.
Yeah.
Shut up, Mike.
You guys are going to Jacksonville for number 1 Georgia versus Florida. The last time the Bulldogs didn't have a first-round pick was in 2017. In fact, they only had 1 player drafted total that year. This receiver who was taken in the 5th round by the Broncos.
I got it. Oh, by the Broncos?
Yeah,
Don't
by the
have it.
Broncos.
Oh.
5th round receiver by the Broncos. 2017, you said?
2017.
Oof. Who were you going to say?
I was going to say Riley Ridley.
Yeah.
Negative. It is wide receiver, though.
Prior to that.
No.
Oh, Isaiah McKenzie.
Yep, Isaiah McKenzie. Yep.
Ah,
Former Notre
nice.
Dame non-sex haver.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, he was the guy who would tell the story. About
One more
Kansas
from
State
you,
Notre
Quinn?
Dame.
Yeah, last one. This is from Aired Mania, I believe is how you say it on Twitter. He wants to know, Ohio State has the most first-round picks of all time with 85, followed by USC with 83, and Alabama with 74. What is the last year all 3 of these schools were not represented in the first round?
Oh, my God.
gotta go back a
These
little
questions
bit.
are ridiculous. I'm going to go 2001.
Close. Very close.
I don't know this one.
Say 2002.
Yeah.
What a
I mean, you had 2. I said very close. You had 2 options. You could have said 2000 or 2002.
Wow.
Chose
Cool.
right. That's it. That's all I got.
Do you have your know your co-host question?
Yes, I do.
Go.
So in college, I was addicted to a video game.
Wait, my question's about a video game too.
To such a degree that I was forced to quit video games and ended up forced to work at PFF because I couldn't get a job in accounting. What video game was it?
Wait, did you see my question before you wrote this?
No.
You're going to be blown away by my question.
What video game was it?
It was Halo.
Which one?
Halo 3.
Yes. Well done.
My question, literally, is not making this up. Max
Yeah.
could test. In 7th grade, or no, I think it was freshman year, I got a video game and played it with my friends to a degree that was disgusting. I got my first B- in a quarter report card ever and had to write a letter to my stepmom asking her to take the game away from me. What was that game?
You wrote a letter to ask him to take
It was brutal. It was brutal.
Call of Duty, Modern Warfare.
Yeah, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I was in that shit like all day. I literally get home, I would not stop playing. You wouldn't stop playing.
I was gonna say you sound like you seem like a Call of Duty guy. There was the Call of Duty guys and the Halo guys. You seem like a Call of Duty guy.
Well, if you didn't have an Xbox,
Yeah.
if you didn't have an
Or a
Xbox, you
PlayStation
weren't
guy.
playing. You weren't
Yeah.
playing Halo 3. I'll tell you that. But that's funny that our questions are so similar. Weird.
That
Cool.
really is incredible.
I was
did
like,
not
you
play
hadn't
that.
looked at my question.
Yeah.
Anyway, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That game was fucking lit. That was a fun game. I haven't played it since. I don't know.
Never
if
played
I
because
was
I
PTSD.
only played Halo 3.
Well, until next time, we're going to be at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I don't care if they don't call it any of that. We're going to be there. Make sure if you're down there in Jacksonville, hit us up. Twitter DMs. We got them open. Until next time, Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, producers, Mike Quinn, Stone Rochelle, Max Chadwick, Dave Sofaro, Tailgate.